Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to a big video today. It's our official Premier League predictions for the upcoming season. It's nearly upon us.
I know, it feels like it's been forever, but it's finally here.
It's finally here, guys. Make sure to drop a like, get your predictions in and subscribe. We're going through each team alphabetically, starting with Arsenal. Now, Arsenal, this is a tricky one because I actually quite rate their business. Gabriel Jesus being a good signing, but I think it's going to be so competitive with that top six. And you've got to be careful as well with the teams trying to break in there with Newcastle, Villa, West Ham. I think Arsenal are going to hold in that sort of Europa League place. 6th place for the Gunners.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there. I think they're just going to make the top six. As you said, it's very, very competitive and it's very, very hard. I think they've had an alright summer window, to be honest. I think Jesus is a great signing for them and I think he is going to score for them. I think he's already got a couple pre-season. I know he's got at least one. But I do think he's going to be a good player for them.
There you go, we've agreed on that one. Next up we move on to Aston Villa, a team I'm quite excited about going into this season because of the business they've done. They've got Steven Gerrard for a whole season. Diego Carlos really stands out. Coutinho's now permanent. I think they're building a good team. I think they're going to go from strength to strength under Steven Gerrard. I think he needs a bit of time. Maybe in 2 seasons he could push towards a Europa League battle. I think they'll be solidly in the top 10 though. 9th place for Aston Villa.
Yeah, again, I've gone exactly the same. I think, yeah, I agree with everything you've said. They're a big club and I think, yeah, they're going to just start working their way up the table. So 9th for me as well. We
agree. Next up, AFC Bournemouth. Now, AFC Bournemouth I did enjoy in the Championship, and there's quite a few Bournemouth fans that follow the channel, and I have quite a lot of respect for Bournemouth as a club, what they're doing, punching above their weight. Brilliant last season. Scott Parker proved a lot of people wrong by getting them up in the automatics, and this is going to be tricky. I don't think they'll finish bottom, but I do think they'll go down. There's not enough business going on, and I just think Bournemouth are going to finish 19th.
Okay, so I do disagree. I think they're going to finish rock bottom. For me, I know it's harsh, but for me, they've not made enough quality signings. And Scott Parker is a manager that can get teams promoted, but he can't seem to keep them up. So I think they're going to be going back down. Sorry, Cherries.
20th for Bournemouth. Next up we go to Brentford, who we were quite pleasantly surprised by last season. Came up, stayed up, had a little wobble in the middle, but beautiful story with Eriksen coming in, them staying up quite comfortably. I think they'll have another season where they stay up. I think 16th. I don't know what to make of their business so far. There's a couple of decent players coming in and out. I think they'll stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, I agree. I'll put them in 15th, but I think they could finish maybe a place or 2 above that or a place or 2 below that, and I'm absolutely gutted that Eriksen left them.
Next up we move on to Brighton, a well-established Premier League team now. I like Graham Potter, I like some of their players. A big loss with Basuma going out the doors, but one of their big signings was Enciso. I think they'll be mid-table again. I think Brighton are a team that won't be near the relegation battle. I think 12th place.
Yeah, so I've got them just 1 place above in 11th.
Yeah.
Again, I think they play some good football at times. I like the manager. I like what they're kind of doing. So, yeah, 11th.
Yeah, mid-table team for Brighton. I think it'd be great to see them push into the sort of top 8 or top 9. So next up is Chelsea. Now Chelsea obviously finished 3rd last season. They seem to be lodged in 3rd the whole way through the season. Not good enough to jump into that top 2, but quite clear of the teams below them. I think this time around it's going to be even trickier just to cement a top 4 place, because you look at Spurs getting much stronger, Arsenal bringing in Jesus, Manchester United have got some business going on at the moment. I think Chelsea's business hasn't been bad. Koulibaly, Raheem Sterling, but 5th.
Yeah, I've got the same 5th. I think earlier on, before the summer transfer window, I was saying I think they'll finish 4th. But as you said, there's some other teams that have made some good signings. And I know Chelsea have made some good signings as well, but I don't know if they're going to click straight away, because there's just something at Chelsea, when they make a signing, just doesn't seem to click right away. So I think maybe next season they might finish slightly higher, but for this season I'm saying 5th.
Next up we have got Crystal Palace. Now Palace have had a couple of interesting transfers in and out. I like Eberway from Derby County. He's a tricky little player. He's young, but I feel like he could offer a lot to Crystal Palace. Already pretty well established. Vieira going into his 2nd season. I think they'll be a mid-table team as well. I'm going to say 13th for Palace.
Yeah, so I said last season I don't think Vieira's going to do a good job, and he's proved me wrong. I think he is doing a good job, and I think he's going to again this season. So I've got them to finish 12th. So yeah, around mid-table, and I think they could, if they make some good signings maybe next season, I think they can start pushing way above that and start looking at the Europa League places.
Next up is Everton. Now, Everton beat the drop last season. Pretty tense season towards the end for those Everton fans. They're a big club. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be getting relegated, but they shouldn't even be in the battle for relegation. Yeah. Frank Lampard does need a bit of time. Their business there's not been a lot going on, but Tarkowski is a good signing, and there's plenty of players they're still linked with. I think Everton finish 15th.
Yeah, so they've had one of their best players leave, and I don't think they've replaced him. I don't even know who they're looking to replace him with, so I don't think they're going to have another good season, to be honest. But again, I agree, I don't think they're bad enough to get relegated, so I've got them to finish 14th.
Interesting. So just clear of that bottom three. Next up we have Fulham, a team people will be predicting to finish in and around that bottom three. I think it'd be great to see Fulham buck that trend, but history does speak volumes when it comes to clubs like Fulham and Norwich, and I hate to call them yo-yo clubs, but it's kind of the cycle that they're in. I think Fulham could do okay because they've had a bit of business go on, but I just think it's a safe bet considering their history that they go down 20th.
Yeah, I've got them to go down as well, but in 19th. I think, the battle for 20th is between them and Bournemouth, and I just think that Fulham are the slightly better team. So I don't think they're good enough to stay up. I think they're going to have a few good games and a few shock wins, but overall, I don't think they've got enough to cut it in the Prem.
Okay, now next up is Leeds United, who just survived in 17th place last season. Obviously, transition with the manager going out and Jesse March coming in. There's been quite a bit of business with ins and outs. Leeds fans will be trying to be optimistic. They want to climb the table. They don't want to be in a bottom three battle again. I think it could be interesting with quite a bit of quality coming up and everyone trying to strengthen as each Premier League season goes by. I think they will survive, but once again, I think it might be close. I'm saying 17th for Leeds.
Yeah, so initially I had them to go down just because I was kind of looking at how many goals they shipped and the amount of injuries they had. But saying that, it's a different manager now. A lot of the injuries to players, like the big players, they're back now. And also, I agree, there's been a few ins and outs. So I do think that they're going to stay up now. But just by the skin of their teeth, 17th.
We've done 10 of the Premier League teams. Keep your predictions coming in the comments. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And let's get into the second 10. Leicester City are next. And I'm going to put them straight bang in the middle of the table. Obviously, last season, they fell down to 8th. They did go quite far in the Europa Conference League. But I think Leicester City haven't had much business go on. And as much as I rate them as a solid, well-established top 10 team now, I think there's teams that might surpass them. 10th place.
So I've got them top 10. I've got them to finish 8th. And you've said that there's not been many signings at all. However, they've not had many outgoings. They've kept hold so far of some of their best players, and I think that's why, and that's the key to them finishing in the top 10. So for me, they're going to finish 8th.
Now next up is Liverpool. This is obviously a massive club with massive potential, and people are always going to be intrigued to see where people put Liverpool. I've looked at what other people have to say, and I get quite annoyed at the people that seem to think Liverpool are going to fall off or going to fall down to 4th or 5th. I think undoubtedly for the next couple of years it's going to be Liverpool and Man City still in that top 2. I think you can see Spurs and Chelsea and United and all them strengthening, but Liverpool and City are on a different level. Liverpool nearly won a quadruple last season, let's remember that. I think Liverpool's business has been interesting. Mane is a big loss, but they've still got Salah. That's brilliant business to give him a new contract. There's been players coming in as well. We need to wait and see what Nunez can do. I think Liverpool will finish 2nd. I think they will challenge again for the title.
Yeah, I've got them to finish 2nd as well. I can actually see why people are saying, Liverpool are going to drop off, because Mane is such a key player. And to let him go, that was tough. But saying that, you did think that Salah might be going as well. So to tie him down, that was a good one. And then, Nunez, so far in pre-season, doesn't look too impressive, but it might take a little bit of time for him to settle down. So saying that, I love Jurgen Klopp as well. I think he gets the best out of pretty much all the players there. So 2nd place for me as well.
Okay, now next up, Manchester City. We might have just given away who we're backing to win the league, but you just can't not go for Manchester City in 1st place. I think Manchester City are so incredibly strong. This reign of terror is probably going to go on for years and years until maybe other teams like Newcastle have the money to maybe compete with them. Manchester City were brilliant last season, and they've added Phillips, they've added Haaland. It's just devastating. 1st place, easy.
I know, it doesn't even matter when they lose players, because you just know, okay, the squad depth they've got, they don't even need to replace, but they've replaced well. And I think Haaland as well, he's an absolute joke of a player. So for me, they're going to win it by a fair margin as well. So obviously, 1st place.
First place. Now, next up, we've got Manchester United. Now, this is an interesting one. Obviously, Manchester United got loads of fans. They'll be intrigued to see what our predictions are. The thing is, obviously, it's tricky with a new manager, and the business isn't complete at the time recording this. We're not 100% sure where Ronaldo's going to be. Eriksen is a great signing, and with Pogba going out the door, as much as he was a quality player, I think he was a bad egg. Yeah, it's the egos, the prima donnas, get them out of the club. Manchester United need to start afresh. I think Ten Hag will get off to a decent first season. I think fourth. I think they'll make the Champions League just, and then maybe build on that next season.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy for them, but I'm also going to back them to finish fourth. The manager so far, like what I've seen from him, he looks like a very solid manager, and I think you need a manager like that at such a big club with such big egos to actually get the best out of them as a group rather than just individuals. So I do think it's going to be a pretty close season, but I will have them to finish fourth.
Next up is Newcastle United. This is an interesting one because obviously all the big changes and stuff. Obviously they were incredible in the second half of last season through 2022, and I like the manager. I like some of their players, Nick Pope, Sven Botman, and obviously the players they've brought in like Target. It's a really well-rounded team, and as much as they've got these great owners and have the potential to buy superstars, I think their business so far has been sensible, and they're building to get closer and closer each year. So I think they'll have a battle for Europe, and I think they'll finish 8th.
Okay, I think, this season's going to be another building season. I did think when the new owners came in, they'd just splashed the cash straight away, but they've not done that, so I kind of respect them for that a little bit. I do have them to finish 10th, so I do think it's going to be more so the top half of the table, like 10th or slightly above that. But at the moment, when I kind of look at their squad, I can't see them finishing too much higher than that. So 10th for me.
Next up are Nottingham Forest, and this is a very tricky one to predict because they're new to the Premier League. They're not exactly a yo-yo club. They've been out of the Premier League since 1999, but they're a big club, and I like their fan base. They could play an influence. As for the squad, quite a lot of changes because they did have quite a few loan players last season. They've brought in 9+ players already this transfer window. I think they're building a decent team. I think they take people by surprise. 11th.
Okay, that'd be very, very impressive if they did that. I don't see that happening myself. I do think they're going to survive, so I do think they will have enough quality there just to survive the drop. So I'm going to have them in 16th. But as you said, there's a lot of new players in the door, which may take a little while for them to gel, and that's why I don't see them finishing too much higher. But I'm going to have them to survive.
Interesting. I feel like they could be really strong at the City Ground, by the way. Next up, we've got Southampton, and this is a hard one to predict because they've been in the Premier League for 10 years, and you can't take that away from them. They know how to avoid the drop in the Premier League. They're not really ever setting the world on fire, but there's some question marks over this squad and where the goal power is going to come from. There's been a couple of new signings, but I look at the quality of some of the teams coming up and some of the teams in the Premier League already strengthening. I think this could be the year Southampton might just slip. We saw it with Burnley. I'm saying 18th.
Yeah, I agree with you, 18th. I did initially have Leeds in that spot, but I've swapped them around just purely because of like the kind of transfer window. And when you really look at the squads, I think Leeds have a slightly better squad than Southampton. It's a shame because they do have like some good players, so it is hard to kind of say, oh yeah, they're not good enough to stay up, because clearly they have been. But this season, yeah, I'm going to have them to go down, so 18th for me too. 18th.
Now next up is Spurs. This is quite an interesting and exciting one considering their business. Basuma, Richarlison, Perisic could go on. Lots of great additions, and the main man for them, not Harry Kane, Conte, great manager. I think he is going to do wonders with Spurs. It's all down to how long they could keep him, because they could actually build, and I think they're the best threat to the top two. I don't think they'll get in there yet, but the best of the rest. 3rd place.
Yeah, 3rd place for me as well. I think they've had a very, very good summer window. They had a pretty solid squad anyway, where you know they're going to be up, like almost guaranteed top 6. I do think they've paid over the odds for Richarlison. I think that was a little bit of a rip-off. I mean, we know he can do it in the Prem, but I don't think he's worth quite that much. Other than that, I think they've had a really solid window. And yeah, I think they are, as you said, the best threat at breaking into that top 2. But I think they're just going to finish outside of it, so 3rd for me too.
Next up, West Ham United. Now, for me, after the top 6, they're probably the most consistent team. I like West Ham. They're a solid team. and I think they'll finish 7th this year. There's been a couple of decent, interesting transfers. I'd love to see them splash a bit of cash and really go for it, because I think they're only a couple of players away from breaking into that top 6, but it's also about keeping players, and they've obviously got good players, especially Declan Rice. I think West Ham finish 7th, and I'd like to see them just sneak into 6th or 5th.
Yeah, I think 7th as well. They almost seem kind of content finishing around that, and they don't really seem to have that desire to kind of push on and finish in the top 4. But I do think, yeah, they've got strength in pretty much all parts of the pitch for me. So again, I think, yeah, they've got the quality to finish top 8, and I'm going to say 7th, but kind of pushing for the top 6.
And then last up, we have got Wolverhampton Wanderers, a team that have been pretty solid over the last couple of seasons in the Premier League, although a couple of question marks this summer, not to an extent where I think they'll get relegated, but maybe where they drop a couple of places. Obviously, Hwang Hee-chan is now officially for Wolves. I think that's a good sign, and there's a couple of other bits of business going on for Wolves, but I think the mid-table section of the Premier League is getting stronger, and I think they might just fall down a couple of places. 14th for Wolves.
Yeah, so for me, I kind of look at them as a bit of a mid-table Prem team now, which isn't too bad. Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you and say just slightly below, kind of, well, lower half of mid-table, I'd say. And I'm going to have them to finish in 13th.
13th. Yeah. That wraps up our Premier League predictions, guys. Make sure to look out for our weekly Premier League predictions coming out as soon as the season starts. Do make sure to drop a like and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.